Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Our plan today was to start the discussion on our next topic in our Race Let's Talk About It initiative, privilege, power, and difference, the controversial issue of white privilege in this country. But Mother Nature is showing her force with a stationary front, bringing us wind, rain, and potentially historic flooding, and Hurricane Joaquin. So we've switched gears to bring you the latest on the storms, how your city is preparing, and what you need to do to be ready. Hunkering down for this weekend's stormy weather. Up next on Another View, right after this news from NPR.
Discussing today's topics from an African American perspective, this is Another View.
And good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. You know what? The beautiful thing about live radio is that you can switch gears and respond to what's happening in the now, and that's exactly what we're doing with today's show. So originally, we had planned to bring you a show called Privilege, Power, and Difference, the second conversation in our Race Let's Talk About It initiative. But because of the tidal flooding and Hurricane Joaquin, we've postponed that show until November the 6th, but we are going to bring it to you. So, as you know, we start the conversation here on Another View and then continue it in the community with a town hall meeting. Our second town hall will be held on Thursday, November the 19th, here at WHRO. So, seating will be limited, and we will have an opportunity for you to sign up for that second town hall. That opportunity will be on our website, whro.org/race/ Talk About Race, and it will be available next week. So don't go rushing to it quite yet, but it will be up next week. So we'll bring you the originally planned show on November the 6th, and then our town hall will be held on the 19th. And I want to say a very, very special thank you to everyone who came out last Saturday for our very first town hall, The Flag is Down, Now What? It was an open, honest conversation. We appreciate all of you who've given us such wonderful feedback for that town hall, and we hope that if you didn't get a chance to come out, that you will come out and participate. I think that it's something, as I was told, that the community needs, so that's a wonderful thing. Now, on to this wet weather and what we can expect and what we can do to be prepared for this wet weather. We've even changed things up a little bit. We've even got our producer, Lisa Godley, with me co-hosting a little bit today because we're doing things a little bit differently, aren't we, Lisa?
We're absolutely doing something different.
We're talking with folks from all around Hampton Roads in terms of what's going on and trying to get a sense of how you all are handling the storm. So we do want to hear from you, 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Give us a call and let us know what's going on in your neighborhood right now. Are you getting flooding in your neighborhood right now? 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. I want to say hello to Scott Larimore. He's a meteorologist with the Weather Channel. And Scott, how are you, first of all?
Hey, I'm good. Good afternoon, Barbara.
Good to talk with you. Now, we've got this, I know everybody was talking about Hurricane Joaquin, but we've got something else happening with us right now that we can't even worry about the hurricane right now, can we?
Yeah, exactly. It's still down in the Bahamas and parked down there and far away from us. So clearly, Joaquin is not who we can hold responsible here today for our 40-mile-per-hour winds and steady, heavy rain. It's actually a big high that's up in southeastern Canada, of all places. Big, strong Canadian high up there, and giving us a really pronounced northeast wind. And, boy, you can feel it out there this Friday afternoon. We've had some 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts in the last hour at the Naval Air Base, and just continue to see this strong, pronounced northeast wind off the Atlantic well ahead of Joaquin that's going to last all weekend.
Wow. So the rain is going to continue. We're expecting tidal flooding. Give us a sense of what we should expect from this system before we even talk about Joaquin.
Sure. Well, it's actually expected to be a lot like today. What you see out there this afternoon is going to continue just about all weekend, and the Weather Service has placed all of our listening area under a flood alert through 6 p.m. Sunday night. And that flash flooding is an underrated weather killer, really. So you should take it seriously. Flooding kills a lot more people than hurricanes ever have. And it certainly is something that we're going to have to monitor throughout this weekend, especially southwest of us. Boy, the models are really honing in on double-digit rainfall totals this weekend for our neighbors south of us down in the Carolinas, from maybe Charlotte down to Columbia, eastern Tennessee, northeastern Georgia. Some models just yesterday were indicating upwards of 20 inches of rainfall, and that is a lot in a short amount of time. And keep in mind, Barbara, this whole region from here all the way down through the Carolinas, we've had a good solid week of hefty rain, and northeast winds have been kind of dominant here over the last week since late September. So a lot of the streams and creeks are at full pool right now, almost 90% at full pool, so there's just nowhere for the water to go, and we are scared of flash flooding this weekend. We think that's the biggest threat from here down into the Carolinas. Now, thankfully, the rainfall totals we're expecting here are more on the order of 5-inch plus totals, but just down to the south of us, our neighbors in the Carolinas, I mean, wow. Even if that 20 inches is half, 10 inches is a ton of rain.
That's a lot of rain.
One weekend. Yeah, it is.
And people should realize, because you mentioned the southwest of us, people tend to think when they think of tidal flooding that we're just talking about people who live on the coast. But we're talking about people who are inland. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about the mountains of western North Carolina. We're talking about the upstate of South Carolina. I mean, this northeast wind kind of is a game changer in that it brings moisture from the Atlantic onshore. And then if you imagine the wind running into the mountains force the air up vertically, obviously, and that enhances the rainfall. And that's the reason that we're seeing so much double-digit rainfall run after run down in the Carolinas for the weekend. So thankfully, we don't have that extreme uphill glide for the rain where it comes off. Yeah, comes off the coast, and we're kind of flat here, and so compared to Western North Carolina, and it has 5,000-foot mountains in Western North Carolina, so that's really causing the air to ascend quickly.
Okay, so we need to hunker down and be ready for that flash flooding.
Yeah, flash flooding, I think, is our biggest threat here through the weekend. And again, we're thankful that we're talking 5-inch rainfall totals compared to 10 or 15-inch rainfall totals here. And beach erosion is the other thing. We've got 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts right now. Last hour, we've had some 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and this is the second weekend in a row that we've had some of these 30-plus mile-per-hour winds doing a number on our beaches here across the beautiful coast of Virginia. So there are gale warnings up from Atlantic City, New Jersey, all the way down to Virginia Beach. Wow. And that's going to be up for much of the weekend.
And before I let you go, are the models still holding true that pretty much Joaquin is going to stay to the east and stay out into the Atlantic?
Yeah, consensus right now keeps Joaquin over the open waters of the Atlantic, not making a U.S. landfall. Okay. However, I will say this, the models have been all over the place with Joaquin, and our confidence is building, but we still have some models suggesting that Joaquin could take more of a jog to the west. We think that's less and less likely since Joaquin did achieve Category 4 status. That will have a tendency to keep it out over the open waters, and it'll take more of a right jog rather than a left jog towards the U.S. So we're fairly confident that Joaquin will not make a U.S. landfall, but it's one of those things where there's so much going on in the world of weather this weekend up and down the eastern seaboard between the high up in the northeast, upper level low in the southeast, and Joaquin sitting out there. It's like 3 systems that we just are encouraging everyone to stay tuned and, let's ride this one out together. And we're pretty confident that Joaquin will not make a U.S. landfall, but we would just ask for everyone to stay aware of what's going on. Remember, don't drive your car through ponded streets. Only takes 5 inches of water to make a game-changing difference, depending on how fast the water's flowing for your car. And that's not a lot when we're talking about multiple inches of rain coming down. Absolutely. So certainly play it safe this weekend. Encourage folks to not take any unnecessary chances. And, tropical storm force winds are 40 miles an hour. We've already had them today.
All right. Thank you so much, Scott Larimer,
All right,
meteorologist
Barbara,
with the
pleasure.
Weather Channel. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Stay safe. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too. And so, as Scott said, we've got to take it easy. One of the problems that we have a lot of times is the fact that storms happen and we lose electricity. We need to be prepared. We need to have kits prepared. Lisa Godley has put together a package for us telling us what we need to make sure we have ready for the storm. Let's take a listen.
Anyone who remembers what Hurricane Isabel did to Hampton Roads doesn't have to be told twice that preparing for Hurricane Joaquin is a good idea. Isabel came in not even a Category 1 storm, but it didn't take much for high winds and the already saturated ground to send trees toppling onto power lines, leaving residents without power for days, and in some cases, weeks. While it now looks as though Joaquin won't bring the kind of damage a Category 4 storm could if it made landfall, coastal flooding and high winds will bring its share of problems to the region. Standing water on roadways is a problem most drivers are used to, so don't take any chances. Turning around is always better than getting stuck and damaging your vehicle. If you live in an area that's prone to flooding, be sure to move or secure those items that could float away. If asked to evacuate, be prepared to go and make sure you have all the supplies you need, including medications. Store important documents or photos in waterproof containers. Be sure you have enough food, water, and supplies to last you and your family for at least 72 hours. If the power goes, foods that don't need refrigeration and canned foods are your best choices. Have plenty of bottled water, a manual can opener, batteries, flashlights, and lanterns. Also, a first aid kit. It's always good to have cards and board games to keep the children happy once their electronics have died. If your neighborhood is prone to flooding, make sure you have a place for you and your family to meet, both inside and outside of your neighborhood. If leaving the area, familiarize yourself with alternative routes. Choose several destinations in different directions. Give yourself enough time so you don't get trapped. Be on the lookout for washed out roads, bridges, and downed power lines. If you don't have a car, make arrangements with friends or family, or know what your local government is providing in terms of alternative shelter. Take your pet with you, but remember that most public shelters do not allow pets. And bring your supply kit with you. Most importantly, use your best judgment and be safe. For Another View, I'm Lisa Godley.
And that is the key. We want everyone to stay safe. So please use your best judgment. We've got Benita Billingsley Harris on the phone. She is the spokesperson for Dominion Virginia Power. And before we start, I must mention that I am the chairperson of the Community Advisory Group for Virginia Dominion Power here in the Eastern.
Job for us, Barbara.
Thank you very much, Benita. But just want to make that caveat that I do work with you all in that capacity in terms of letting you all know some of the concerns we have here in the eastern part of the state. But what's going on in terms of power outages? We're already seeing some, I understand.
Yes, well, Lisa gave an excellent report with a lot of wonderful tips in it. And as Scott was saying earlier, the weather forecast has dramatically improved, but Dominion is still in storm mode, ready to respond if and when we get widespread power outages based on the sustained winds and flooding conditions. We have had scattered outages all week just because of the rain and the saturated ground. I mean, today, within the last 24 hours, we've had more than 20,000 customers that experienced power outages in about 200 work locations, Barbara. So Dominion crews have been working, around the clock to restore power.
I noticed that Newport News had put out a press release encouraging people not to touch down lines. Talk about how dangerous that is, Benita.
That is such an important point because you never know if a line is energized and you could get seriously hurt or even killed. And with the flooding going on, it might be even more difficult to see the hazard. So we're asking people to please stay away from flooding water, because flooding can be a problem where down power lines or other hazards might be hidden. And remember, if you see a down line, to keep at least 30 feet away. Call 911 if there's an immediate threat of danger, and also call us to report it at 1-866 DOM HELP,
Okay.
which is 1-866-366-4357.
Okay. Say that one more time, the number one more time for us.
1-866-366-4357.
Okay. And is that the number that you also call to report an outage if it's at your home?
That's right. You can use that number to call and report an outage or a down power line. And you can also go right on your smartphone to dom.com, and it will immediately take you to our mobile app where you can get lots of information.
Okay. And once you report that outage, tell us a little bit about the priority in terms of how you decide who's going to get the service back first, or how does that work, Benita?
Well, there is a priority for restoration in terms of like hospitals are always going to be top priority, water treatment facilities, anything that is a health issue, health place, medical facilities. Schools are high on the list. So there's like a hierarchy of restoration that we do. And then after we get the special customers out of the way, the high impact customers like hospitals, then we start trying to restore power at the transmission lines that have the most customers on it and work our way down.
Got you. So once you report it, there's no need to keep calling. Is that correct?
No, but it is important to call and report it. Make sure you at least call that one time.
Okay.
And then our new interactive outage viewer, you can actually go on there and look and see the progress. You can see where crews are working, and that helps people understand, too, what's going on.
I got you. Okay. That's Benita Billingsley-Harris, spokesperson for Dominion Virginia Power. Benita, I know you're working around the clock, so be safe out there.
Thanks
and we
so much,
appreciate
Barbara.
you being with us. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Give us a call. Join our conversation. We want to know what's happening in your neighborhood right now. And we also want to know if the power goes out in your house, if you've experienced that before, what do you do to keep your kids occupied? Give our listeners some tips. There may be some parents out there who need some advice on ways to keep your kids occupied, especially once the batteries go down on those electronic devices. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. I want to bring on the line now Phyllis Armstead. She's the interim chief housing officer for Norfolk Redevelopment and Housing Authority. And again, I must say that I am the chair of the board of commissioners for NRHA. We set policy for the division, but we do not handle the day-to-day. So Phyllis, that is your job as interim chief housing officer. And I want to know, we know that we have several of our public housing units that sit underwater, who are in low-lying areas, and so I'm sure that they may be experiencing some of this flooding even as we speak. So what are some of the things that we do to help those residents?
Good afternoon, Barbara.
How you doing?
Yes, we do have a couple of communities that sit in low-lying areas. Tidewater Gardens is one, and Calvert Square is another. And we maintain close communication with the city of Norfolk so we can stay on track with evacuation, if that is necessary, and so forth. We instruct our residents to stay tuned to all of the social media outlets, so that way we can keep them up to date in terms of evacuation, any procedures that need to take place. We've gassed up trucks, checked machinery, and to make sure everything is working properly, so that if we need to assist with removing limbs or anything that may block streets and so forth, that we're able to do that right away.
And I think a lot of people may have the impression that our housing units are maybe on our own electrical lines or things of that nature. That's not the case, is it?
No, it isn't. For the most part, most of our communities, the electric lines surrounding the communities are Dominion Virginia Power. We may have some that we maintain ourselves within this community. But for the most part, it's Dominion Virginia Power.
Okay, so if the lights go out in your neighborhood, they're going out in our neighborhoods too, correct?
Exactly. Yes, unfortunately.
Okay, so are there any other bits of advice or things that we tell our residents ahead of time to prepare in terms of safety kits or anything of that nature?
Well, we get started very early. When hurricane season approaches, we send out the information that most available to most citizens in the grocery stores and so forth, telling them to make sure they have a good supply of medicines, batteries, food, non-perishable, things such as that. So we get out ahead of the actual storm. When the hurricane season approaches, we provide them with information then. And then as we get closer, we again letting them know, stay tuned to the social media outlets, TV, radio, so you'll know about moving your cars and so forth.
Okay. That's Phyllis Armstead. Thank you so much, Phyllis. Be safe out there in this storm, okay?
Thank you. You too.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. And let's take a couple of phone calls. John joins us from Norfolk. Hi, John. You're on the air.
Hi. How are you today?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm okay. I just came from the peninsula to the south side, came down Hampton Boulevard, and it's not even high tide, and Hampton Boulevard is pretty much impassable unless you have a big truck.
Oh, boy. Now that means I got to figure out a new way to get home. Huh? All the way down Hampton Boulevard, John?
At the bridge, at the Hampton Boulevard Bridge by the library and Taste Unlimited, there's stalled out cars in the road and in the median.
Okay.
The city of Norfolk really dropped the ball by sending kids to school today, among other cities as well. Several other cities all sent their kids to school. I mean, I don't know if the superintendents don't watch the news, but all the news stations said there was going to be major flooding today, and yet they still went to school. Some people need to make some better decisions in the future, and I'm going to take those comments off the air.
All right. Thanks, John. We appreciate that. There are some early closings that are going on with schools. And as a matter of fact, we have Lori Crouch from the city of Norfolk. She's the spokesperson for the city of Norfolk on the line with us now. Hi, Lori. You're on the
Barbara,
air.
How are you?
I'm fine. How you doing? Are you
I'm good.
keeping dry?
Yeah, we're trying.
I can imagine. John brought up the concern about school children getting home this afternoon. And I know that you all are working with the school division, I'm sure, to make sure that our kids do get home safely today.
That's correct. And it's important to point out that the high tide cycle this afternoon is going to take place around 1:20 or so. And so, I know schools have to make a decision that they feel is going to keep the kids as safe as possible. And so those kinds of decisions are understanding what the data is, what the tide cycles are going to be, go into those decisions. Mm-hmm. So definitely, the schools, we've been on conference calls with them and partnered with them, and they are taking the safety of the kids as paramount to them.
Okay. What else is the city doing to make sure that we try to keep Norfolk as puddle free as possible?
Well,
I know it's hard. It's hard.
We're an old city. We flood. So since earlier this week and really last week, when we were dealing with the weather last weekend, our public works crews have been out addressing and cleaning storm drains and ditches. And it's really important when we talk to people about making sure they don't throw their trash in the street. There's a reason for that. When we go to clean out these dishes, they're blocked with bottles and trash and junk. And when you do that in an old city, the water has nowhere to go. So we all have a role in trying to help keep these floodwaters at bay as best as we can by being cognizant of not throwing junk and trash and things like that into the street where they can get into our storm drains. So that's the first thing. But our crews have been out. They continue to be out. So we are addressing hot spots. And I've been driving around, and there are, the typical areas that we usually see in the city. Those streets are flooded, mm-hmm. and that will continue to go as we hit this high tide cycle this afternoon. And so it's really, really important because I've also watched cars stall out, mm-hmm. and I've watched cars drive through flooded streets. We cannot continue to stress enough. Please do not drive through these flooded roads. If we have to send emergency crews out to get you, we're taking them away from doing other life safety, addressing other life safety needs. So it's really, really important to please avoid the flooded streets and understand that we are going to flood. Norfolk has a great tool. So we have it on the front page of our website. It's called iView. Mm-hmm. So if you have to drive around and you want to know where people are reporting flooded streets, go to iView before you head out. You'll see these little red dots. You click on the dot, and the dot will give you data about a report we've received. So it's also important that we have people driving around to report flooded streets, down trees. Lights if they see them, call 664-6510 so we can collect that information, and then we will put that into iView so we can give people real-time information about flooded streets and any other incidents that are taking place in the city.
So if they go to norfolk.gov, that's where they can find this iView?
They go to norfolk.gov iView. It's in the box on the lower part of the website. We've also got our emergency alert bar there, so if they click on that, they'll get a map of historically flooded streets. They'll see information on iView. We have the parking garages open for residents in low-lying areas, the 3 that are open downtown. ODU, great partner, opened 3 for our residents up in the Larchmont off of Hampton Boulevard area up there. Anybody in low-lying areas that need to move their cars, we're giving them those areas to do that, and all that information is on our website. We're trying to keep that as up-to-date as possible so people won't have to go to one location to get information.
Fantastic. Okay, Lori Crouch, for the spokesperson for the City of Norfolk. Lori, thank you so much for that information, and please stay dry.
Thank you. You too.
Okay.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. If you're just joining us, we're talking about storm preps and ways to stay safe this weekend in this weather. We've got a three punch, as they say, in terms of stationary fronts and tidal flooding. And there is a hurricane out there also that is headed our way. Luckily, though, all the weather forecasters are now saying that it will stay offshore. So we will not have a direct hit, which would be a good thing. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Nathan joins us from Suffolk. Hi, Nathan. You're on the air.
Hello. How are you today?
Okay. How you doing?
Great.
Good.
Yeah, I was just calling to just go back in a little bit of history with Hurricane Floyd. I've been praying that Joaquin is going to pass us by, and looks like it is. I was actually in the Virginia Army National Guard back when Hurricane Floyd hit, and it's similar to this, where we had weeks of rain, about a week of rain prior to the hurricane coming, and then Floyd came and dropped about 10, 12 inches of rain, and we had historic flooding in Franklin and in Suffolk, Virginia, Southampton County area. So just looking at what's been happening over the past week, we're really blessed to be passed by Joaquin.
Wow. Yeah, that is really great, too. So what's going on in your neighborhood right now, Nathan? Is it flooding?
Well, there is flooding on Main Street in Suffolk, and
Okay.
I just came through down at Constance Wharf. That street normally starts flooding around high tide in an event like this. So probably about another hour, Main Street will be closed down in Suffolk, and you'll have to go take the bypass around to get to the other side of downtown. So that's what's going on in Suffolk right now.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your phone call. Thanks so much for joining us. Lisa, I believe you have some up-to-date information for us, huh?
Yes, we have a traffic advisory from Elizabeth River Tunnels that the tide elevations are currently lower than predicted at the Midtown Tunnel, so the tunnel remains open to traffic at this time.
Oh, fantastic, because there was talk about definitely closing
Yes,
it
there
until
was.
tomorrow, so that's fantastic. The Midtown Tunnel then is open.
It's currently open, yes.
That's
Yes.
fantastic. Okay. Let's talk to Steve Cover. He's the fire chief in Virginia Beach. Hi, Steve. You're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. How are things going in Virginia Beach so far?
Better than we anticipated, so
Wonderful.
we're grateful for that.
That's wonderful. So not a lot of flooding or not a lot of flooding? What's happening?
Well, we're as I heard the lady from Norfolk speak to earlier, probably are 2 times that we are worried about the tide cycles here. We've got a high tide coming up here shortly this afternoon that we're keeping an eye on, obviously for our Lynn Haven River area. And, obviously the ocean front. And then there's another one that we're keeping an eye on that will occur sometime in the afternoon, 4 to 5 p.m., Sunday afternoon. Again, it'll be a a cascading effect of the impacts of the rain and the tides through the weekend that we'll be watching on that one. So again, our flood-prone areas, we're making sure we have our public works and public utilities folks out there, and we've got our assets stood up that if we need to help get any folks out of those low-lying areas, we'll be able to do that.
Chief Cover, you don't think about fires that much when you think about all this water around, but that is still a concern, isn't it?
It sure is, and we have, believe it or not, we have heavily damaged fire apparatus over the years in some of those areas that get inundated with floodwaters in trying to get to and from calls. So we will get to any call that any emergency that people will have. Potentially, we will get to them.
And do we want to remind people about how they should think about getting light if the lights go out, like being careful using candles and that kind of thing in terms of fire safety?
Absolutely, yes, ma'am. Any open flame, certainly we don't recommend that, and we don't like that being unattended. Obviously, if there's long periods of time that people are without power, we've got the generators that we worry about. People using their own home generators, you want to make sure that's outside and properly vented, so that you don't have any problems with asphyxiation or that sort of thing. Also, when the power is out, and people connect a privately owned generator to their system in their homes, that is going to be backfeeding to the power company's end of things. So you want to make sure that you've got that isolated and not backfeeding, so those poor utility workers and linemen that are working on those lines are getting backfed. We don't want that to occur.
That portion of it, absolutely. Okay, well, we really appreciate you taking some time to speak with us today. And for the citizens of Virginia Beach and for all over, we just want people to stay safe and to be as cautious as they can.
Absolutely. Just monitor the weather. As you said before, if you don't need to be out, don't go out. And that will make life a lot easier for all of us in public safety.
Absolutely.
Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. That was Fire Chief of Virginia Beach, Mr. Steve Cover. Thanks. Jim joins us from Norfolk. Hi, Jim. You're on the air.
Hi.
Hi. You're on the air.
Yes. I'd like to make some comments on the models that everybody's taking a sigh of relief about. And really how consistent some of those models are. If you go back 4 days and pull the models and look at what they were saying would occur today. In other words, the model 4 days ago said that the storm today, this afternoon, should be just south of Cape Hatteras as a strong tropical storm with winds about 50 miles per hour. When in reality, it's a Category 4 hurricane. It's been really pounding the Bahamas. So that model was off. The model for the next day, 3 days ago, said that the storm would be moving northward. It would have winds about 80 to 90 miles per hour. Of course, that hasn't come true. And so the models have been all over. Even though right now the models appear, or most of the models are showing that it's going to stay off the coast, don't use that as the gospel and just realize that things can change. Now, part of the potential is that the low pressure that's causing the rain along the Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina coast, as that low intensifies and as it starts moving northward, the longer the hurricane stays to the south, the more dangerous it becomes, because the low along the coast will begin changing the atmosphere, and those upper currents can change, and the hurricane could start moving northward, and what the models are currently showing could totally change.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right about that. So that's why we really want to encourage people to stay aware, even though they're saying now that the hurricane may just stay out into the Atlantic. We all need to stay aware and to make sure that we are watching the weather all weekend long to make sure that we are aware. Lisa, do we have Miles Henderson with us?
Dennis on the phone now.
Okay, we do have Demenis. We have Demenis Brown on the phone with us, who is from News Channel 3, and we want to invite him to join us on the phone now. Demenis?
Yes, ma'am. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm fine. How are you? Thank you for joining us. I know you have been on the air almost around the clock. And the gentleman that was just on the phone, he was talking with us about how we need to be paying attention, because even though you all meteorologists are now saying that the storm is going to the west, that things keep changing. And that is true, don't they?
Absolutely. Things keep changing. It's keeping us on our toes, and we're going to continue staying busy through today and through the weekend. But, the storm is one story with Joaquin out in the tropics, but we also have the other system that's right on top of us. That's the main concern right now.
Mm-hmm. And has anything changed? What's going on with that storm right now?
So let's talk about what's happening with Joaquin. Joaquin is still a major Category 4 hurricane out in the tropics. It is battering portions of the Bahamas right now. But the latest forecast track, the 11 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center, continues to keep the center of that track and also the cone of uncertainty well east of Hampton Roads in northeastern North Carolina. So it's going to stay well away from shore. And that's good news for us, so we won't see the rain bands and the really big bad weather that we could see with that type of storm coming through our area. So that's good news for us. But what's really the concern right now is that we have a lot of rainfall over us. And this is a completely separate system with a stationary front that has nowhere to go. And we've had a lot of water out there, and we are approaching high tide at Sewell's Point, that major area that we forecast for Hampton Roads, Sewell's Point. The peak of high tide is around 1:13 this afternoon, and we've been seeing water already rising. Usually we start seeing water rising about an hour and a half to 2 hours on either side of that peak time. And so water was already starting to rise when I was coming into work early this morning around 10:45. So it's a mess around Norfolk and other areas too.
I was coming in about 9 o'clock this morning, and there was water already ponding on the road. So let me ask you this question. So when high tide comes in and there's nowhere for the water to go, how long then does it stay? I mean...
And when we have, that's a great question, because when we have a system like this, we not only have the tidal cycle, but we also have the strong northeast winds, and they're gusting to about 40, 45 miles an hour. And so we have that's adding to that water being pushed up. So it's going to take a good probably 2 hours for the water to start receding, and then some of those roadways can be passable. But for now, I mean, we have some of my coworkers in the newsroom. They just got off the noon show, and they can't go anywhere because we're an island here at News Channel 3, and there's in other parts of the area we just can't get around. So it's going to take at least a couple of hours after 1:13, that peak time, in order to really start seeing those roadways to be passable.
Yes, I understand that. Well, we will continue to watch you on the air and all the other meteorologists around, and we appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing to bring us the information that we need in order to stay safe. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. And let me just say that one thing. I know you're probably running out of time, but we're going to continue seeing the flooding this afternoon, the heavy rainfall this afternoon. We're going to get a bit of a break tomorrow, though, from some of the rain. So that's good news for us. A lot of the rainfall will be pushing farther inland, though. So that will be farther inland towards the I-95 corridor for tomorrow. But we will see some scattered showers. That's a really, really heavy rain that we've been seeing today. So that's a glimmer of hope.
Okay, so much. Thank you so much. That's Demenis Brown from News Channel 3. Let's see. Let's take a phone call from Marnita. Is calling us from Baltimore. Hi, my hometown. How are you, Marnita?
Hi, I'm good. What part of Baltimore are you from?
From Pimlico. from the Pimlico area.
Wow, nice. You really are a homegirl.
Absolutely. So you want to talk to us about what the kids can do during the storm, huh?
Yeah, even though the storm's probably not going to be as severe in this area as it will be in your area, there are activities that parents, I know when the kids are home and indoors and can't get out, there tends to be a little cabin fever happening. And then after a while, when they don't have enough activity, there can be some frustration setting in. So I want to help parents out in this moment. It's an opportunity, really, to get your kids, kind of like to have a captive audience with your kids and to spend some good quality time with them. And I think if you have small kids, it's a no-brainer. Younger kids are easily intrigued by making crafts and that kind of thing, or you can ask them to come in and help you bake a cake. If you get to the grocery store in time, you can get all the ingredients to make the no-bake cheesecake, which is an awesome recipe. It's very delicious, and there's no oven involved. So it's a bunch of cream cheese and sugar and whipped cream, and something that the kids will actually enjoy eating and making as well. And then, of course, it's a great opportunity to improve our reading. And if we just kind of collected our kids, got a nice book, put a book in their hand, and let them read aloud to us, they might have a good time doing that. Or you guys might have, if you like to put some puzzles together, there's something valuable in that time being spent together. Or with, toddlers. With toddlers, it's so simple. They just want to be with you. And so you can flip a kid on your back and just kind of become that horsey all around the room. And if you have older kids, if you have teens, then you may want to do some things that are known in summer camp, icebreakers and that kind of thing. You may want to share, have a group setting and share your most embarrassing moments. It'll be an opportunity to get to know and insight with your kids, and then have them have, you share some certain things that they may not know about you. And it's just a good time of bonding and fellowship and just growing closer to our kids, because before you know it, they're out of the house and they're off to college. Like my daughter, who's a senior at Hampton University, and I believe she's there with you, Jessica Dorch, that's my girl. And I had to shout her out there. So, she 1 minute I was chasing her around the house, and the next minute she was driving a car. So it won't be long.
Absolutely. Well, we first of all appreciate all the great ideas, because those are some wonderful ideas. And yes, Jessica is one of our interns here at Another View, and we do appreciate everything that she's doing. She's just fabulous. Marnita, thank you so much for calling us and sharing your thoughts with us today. Thanks so much. Take care. All right. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. What is your go-to food when you have no power to cook? Give us a call and let us know. What do you go to when you have no power to cook? We need some ideas here in the Another View studio. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. George Glazner joins us now. He's the Deputy Coordinator of Emergency Management for the City of Newport News. Hi, George. How are you?
I'm fine, Barbara. How are you?
Good. I'm doing fine. You are really, really busy today, aren't you?
We are.
Okay. What's the latest in Newport News? I saw a couple of releases a little bit earlier before we came on the air, and there were some downed trees and some things that were going on, and some evacuation information for people living in low-lying areas.
Yes, we are experiencing some problems with downed trees. It's not a lot, but a little bit elevated over normal. Our biggest concern right now is flooding. We're 15, 20 minutes away from the next high tide, which will really tell us a lot what the next few days are going to be like, because here in Newport News, we do have some low-lying areas. We have notified those residents to be vigilant and watch, for rising water, and if they need to leave, to get out, and we've given them some options on that. We've also taken precautions, just for general public safety. We've canceled activities like the Fall Festival this weekend, and of course the golf course is closed, and we're not going to do any solid waste collection on Monday. That everything will be delayed one day for this week in Newport News. So if you normally get your garbage on Monday, it will be Tuesday, and so forth.
Okay, so everything's delayed a day.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we're also, our citizens, if they have questions, they can call our 311 center at 757-933-2311. And our 311 staff there will be, more than happy to answer their questions. But right now, we're making lots of preparations, but we haven't had a need to take any, specific actions other than have people be prepared to move if necessary.
Okay. And what do you find is the biggest thing that people don't do in situations like this? This is not the first time that we've had flooding in this area. So is there a particular thing that you find that most citizens still fail to prepare or to do in terms of getting ready for weather like this?
Well, I think one of the problems that we have in this area is that we go through so many times that we tell people to be prepared and we tell people to be vigilant, and then nothing happens. And so complacency becomes a problem. So then when you come up against a situation where you might really potentially have a problem, sometimes people have the attitude, well, they said it before and it didn't happen last time. So keeping that sense of urgency in their preparation is really important, and I understand that it's difficult, but that's a key in staying safe is listening to the forecast as they come out and to the announcements as we make them, and then acting when they're told to do, because people tend to wait too long.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And your planning process goes on all year long, doesn't it, George?
Yes, that is a key component of what we do.
Absolutely. Well, we really thank you for taking some time to spend with us here on Another View and letting our listeners know what's going on. Please be safe.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. What is your go-to food when you have no power to cook? Marticia joins us from Hampton. Hi, Marticia.
Hi. Good afternoon. Great show.
Thank you.
My go-to food is a tuna fish salad, and I can package it in these small snack-sized Ziploc bags, and it makes it really easy to go into a cooler, and you can sit them on ice and not have the water penetrate it. It's fabulous. You can open up the bag and put it on Ritz crackers.
Ah, okay. So have you done that already? Are you prepared?
I'm already ready, and my tuna is already ready to go, just in case.
Do you have flooding in your neighborhood right now?
I didn't have flooding this morning when I left for work, but generally we do get just a little bit.
Okay, so you're getting prepared.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for calling and sharing with us. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. We've got Robin McCormick on the line from the city of Hampton. Hi, Robin. How are you?
Barbara.
What's going on in Hampton right now? You're the public information officer for the city of Hampton. What's happening there?
We are seeing some moderate to maybe a little more than that flooding. We've got several roads closed. High tide will hit us in about 15 minutes, so we expect it to get a little worse before it gets better.
Okay. Are schools closing early in Hampton?
Schools closed early. I think most of them are out now, but they had to have a phased approach because they need to use the buses over and over again, so they couldn't dismiss all at the same time.
Right. Okay, so how is traffic in the area?
I think there were definite bottlenecks around the schools because of parents trying to get in and pick up their kids, but we're not hearing a lot. We are seeing some pretty good-sized roads closed. The LaSalle Avenue ramp to I-64 is flooded, and along Armistead Avenue beside that, Harris Creek Road, Beach Creek Road up at Grandview, Fox Hill, and several small neighborhood roads in the Wythe area where there's a little creek back there, water's coming in.
Okay, so you want to tell people to, if you don't have to go out, to stay home, correct?
Stay home, or at least wait until after high tide and till the waters start to recede. This morning at 8 o'clock, we were having no problems. That was a little bit after low tide, but it's going to build up, and it's going to build up every high tide from now through Sunday afternoon. Absolutely. So try to plan your travel if you can do so.
Okay, thank you so very much for joining us. We really appreciate that, and please stay safe. While you're out there. Take care. Okay. Thank you. All right. So we've got a lot going on in this area. And a lot of things have been canceled. So pretty much if you expected to go to any festivals in the area, they have all been canceled. Now, the Virginia Children's Festival, that was a huge festival that normally happens this time of the year, that has been canceled. So the First Fridays event in Norfolk has been canceled. Pretty much anything that was going on outside has been canceled. If you wonder or if you're not sure, please go to your website. Let's see. Oh, we have Chief Dent on the phone from Williamsburg. Chief Dent, how are you doing? What's going on in Williamsburg?
Right now, we're experiencing a little bit of rain. It's starting to pick up in intensity in the last half hour or so. According to the National Weather Service, we may experience another 3 inches of rain in the next 24 to 36 hours. So right now things are calm. It's just wet.
Oh, okay. So you haven't had any flooding or anything that you've had to deal with. Is that right?
No, unlike other localities, we're on a little higher ground, and we don't have any issues with tidal flooding. So currently, we just have a little bit of ponding on the roadways, but no issues with flooding.
Mm-hmm. So, Chief Dent, when you hear all the other meteorologists talking and things that are going on, because I know Williamsburg is kind of in between Richmond and Hampton Roads, and you've got people, I guess, on both sides in terms of weather. So do most residents still prepare in case there is flooding there, or is it more tending towards more of whatever happens in Richmond in terms of weather?
They still prepare. I mean, our residents are pretty vigilant, and they stay on top of the weather. A lot, as you know, a lot of the residents here have been here for quite some time, so they're accustomed to and have had past experiences with the weather in Williamsburg. So we do, obviously, most of us have loved ones in other areas, either in the Richmond area or in the Hampton Roads area that may experience those types of flooding. So it's always a concern for us. Mm-hmm. But it is one avenue because we're not. It's not something that happens here frequently. Other than we've had some flooding with drainage issues that have been resolved in past years. But our public works crews have been out and been on top of that. But not having to worry about those flooding issues is somewhat a relief for our city.
Well, that's wonderful to know then. I hope you all stay safe too, and if there's any ponding or anything that is going on there, that people will pay attention and not drive through those puddles, because I know that that's always a big concern, especially, and also it puts your firefighters in danger if they have to go out and rescue people, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, and that's one thing we encourage everyone to avoid those areas that may become flooded, the roadway areas, because obviously vehicles will stall, and then it does. We have to put our firefighters and EMTs and EMS providers in harm's way to rescue those folks from those. So, I know it's frequently it's inconvenient for people, but it's obviously a life-saving move to avoid those types of ponding on the waterway where it begins to get deep.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Chief Dent, for joining us. That's Pat Dent from Williamsburg joining us. And boy, oh boy, this hour has flown by very, very quickly. Lisa, anything else we need to tell folks before we go?
I'm just happy that the Midtown Tunnel is still open, and I hope it's going to remain until I can get down Hampton Boulevard and home.
I know you were really worried about that today. Well, you know what? I want everyone to stay tuned to WHRV for any updates on Hurricane Joaquin, on the flooding in our area. And of course, we're going to bring you all the information that you need to know in the coming days after the storm has passed also, because there is going to have to be cleanup that's going to go along also. And you can always go to WHRO.org for any updated information. And next week, it's the Another View Roundtable. We'll have another show for you, the mayor's race in Norfolk to the 25th anniversary of the Million Man March. So you know it's going to be a lively discussion. Our theme music was composed and performed by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Victor Bowen is our audio engineer. And I want to give a shout out to all of our interns today: Kamaria Mesa, Jessica Jane, Jessica Dortch, and Jillian Bullock, because they all came in this storm. They saw what it was like to be able to react to live radio. So I'm very, very proud of them. Thank you all for being here today. I'm Barbara Hamley. Stay safe, everybody. Make it a great weekend, and let's get together again next Friday at noon for Another View.